Hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Oh, wait, I forgot to turn on the thing. Hello. Oh, okay. Today was another rush. Today was another fucking rush. All I did today was edit. I was editing and 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 editing all day. Hello, Axel. Hello, Boo. Hello, Squish Squash Josh. Hello, everyone. Hello. Hello. Oh, good. They're still working. Good. It seems that this avatar just all of a sudden works now without having to worry about updating it, and it resets the parameters. It seems to save now, which is good. Good, 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 good. Well, I didn't really know what to do for stream today, and something was occupying my mind, but it wasn't occupying my mind enough, and that is the new release of, or the announcement of the Steam frame. And I want to look more into it. I haven't really had a chance to look more into it except for the website. That's all. Just the website page. That's all I had a chance to see. Haven't seen any videos yet because all of their, like, the non-disclosure agreements are over since they announced it. So now people's, like, videos are out on it, and I want to read up on it. I want to watch some videos. So that's what we're going to do today. I know it's kind of boring, but it has been the most sought after and, like, everybody, the most anticipated Valve product release since the Index, I think, for a lot of people. And there's finally something. Tested got a long video, but very informative. Yeah, I saw Tested has one. Pretty much like all the big tech YouTube channels have posted it. What's it supposed to be? Haven't heard of it yet. It's Steam's new headset. VR headset. And it looks pretty schmexy. It looks really good. It looks really good. I am just worried about the price. Because in my eyes, in my opinion, it's very much like a Quest 3, just with eye tracking. $800 minimum. I don't know. Fox is thinking 1,000 or more. Because the Valve Index is $499 right now. The headset alone. The kit is $1,000. That's the controllers and the base stations. $100. Yeah. I'm not sure. That's gonna be a big guessing point. I'd imagine that they would release it with a cheap price. Cheap as in, like, affordable, and, like, doesn't even out the playing field. Like, you know what I mean? Because the big screen is 1,000 plus. The big screen VR, and that is just one headset, no controllers, completely reliant on base stations, and yeah. But this new one, hopefully, I want to say it's $899 at the very max. I don't know, or just right at 1,000 maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, delayed. What? What, Squish Squash? What's delayed? The stream? Is there a delay? The command was, yesterday we were having terrible sync issues, but I couldn't tell, or not sync, but like latency issues, or it felt like the headset was like gonna break last night or yesterday, when I was painting that space picture. because it was stuttering like crazy. But it seems to be fine now. I kind of think that it was because I was putting so many dots and pixels. Maybe that's why. I'm not sure. But let's go here. Let's go here. And we're gonna sit down and watch some videos and learn more about this new headset. It came out, what, 3 hours ago? 3 or 4? The announcement. I keep saying it's out. It's not out yet. It is just an announcement. There's also some other stuff like a controller and some other things, but they look boring. They look pretty boring. But yeah, I'm just gonna type in YouTube Steam Frame. And then we'll honestly just go down the list and skim through. We're gonna watch Linus's first because I was watching it and then I stopped because I was editing all day. I rendered 9 videos today, I think. Around 9 fucking videos. So many videos. Holy shit. What's on the trending tab, too? Let's see. I bet it's not even on the trending tab. Bullshit, songs, stupid stuff, nothing. 6-7 has gone too far. Alright, let's put the screen down. And I'm going to turn up my brightness because this world is so terrible with avatar lighting. Even if it's all the way up, it just doesn't look like it's doing much. Yeah. I'm going to sit right here. And then I'm going to do zoop. Something like that. Oh, fuck. God, the turn speed is always way too fast. Stop it. Stop. There we go. Perfect. Oh, no. Shit. It's hooked. It's hooked to me. There we go. There we go. Alright, I'm ready. I'm ready to watch. I'm ready to learn. Here we go. Oh, fuck. I just queued it like 5 times. Oops. Fuck. Why? I don't understand why OBS detects the visuals of what I'm displaying, but then not the audio, and then I have to refresh it sometimes. It's so stupid.
Everyone knows that outside-in tracking is just better for VR gaming. It's faster, more accurate, and it's more reliable. Well, here's the thing. Valve isn't everyone, and the new Steam Frame took my expectations of a lousy, flaky experience in a standalone VR headset with camera-based positional tracking and blew them away. They also blew away my expectations for their new Steam Machine and Steam Controller, but that's a separate video. We'll have that link down below. In 2 words or less, this thing is impossibly good, and maybe more importantly, impossibly versatile. They managed to make it lighter, more comfortable, and higher fidelity than the OG Index for PC VR gaming. They managed to bolt an ARM-based computer to it that runs mobile VR games and applications. You can even just sideload an Android APK, and the whole thing runs freaking SteamOS with a new element to their Proton compatibility layer called Fex that allows you to play desktop VR games. I'm talking x86 Windows VR games on your ARM Linux VR headset. I would mic drop this, but I think I'd get in trouble. The last part I wouldn't believe if I didn't experience it for myself, but they did all of this with latency that is indistinguishable from the best VR experiences that I've had. But is it indistinguishable from the best segue I've ever had? To our sponsor, Jawa. Jawa is your one-stop shop to buy and
Lucky you may be selected
that can for your gaming PC. It's meant to be a standalone device that can also be enjoyed alongside your PC using wireless streaming for VR, which sounds horrible, but somehow it's not.
I do
Let's
it
take a
all the
closer look at
time. It's not
hardware.
too bad.
Then we can talk about how they did it. The headset that I'm holding is actually made up of multiple components. The core module contains
what
the
they said.
actual computer and weighs under 190 grams. Then next is an audio module that can be detached with 3 clips under the foam gasket. Then there's the head strap and a battery pack that is cleverly positioned at the back to help counterbalance the device, improving comfort, and also to make it a little bit easier to cable manage if you wanted to have an external battery pack. The optics are, simply put, flipping incredible. Like other leading headsets, they're using pancake lenses, but unlike some other headsets that use pancake lenses, there was very little in the way of internal reflections visible in the demo applications that I use today. It is possible that with brighter light sources, it could show up a bit more, but that's going to be something that I'll have to save for the full review. What I can tell you is that under each lens is a 2160 by 2160 LCD display that's capable of anywhere from 72 Hertz, presumably for power saving, up to 120 Hertz with a 144 Hertz experimental mode, just like we had on the Valve Index.
I'm gonna check how big the screen size of the screen size of Quest 3.
As for why it's experimental mode, just like we had on the Valve Index. As for why
Pretty
Valve decided
similar.
to use LCD rather than OLED, it basically came down to the light losses due to the pancake lenses. Ooh, since I'm pointing at them, on the inside of each lens, maybe you could even see them if you went cross-eyed enough, is an eye tracker that's obviously going to be great for social VR experiences, but perhaps more importantly, enables Valve to do what they call foveated streaming, which I'm going to have to explain later because it gets a little in the weeds. First, let's take a look at the controllers. Valve fully acknowledges that these are very similar to other designs in the market, but they wanted something that was both great for VR and also great for your non-VR applications if you just want to use your headset as a giant virtual display. And they still managed to add some Valve touches to them, putting capacitive sensing on all input surfaces and on the grips, so you can still do 5-finger tracking just like the Knuckles controllers from the Valve Index. They have 2-stage actuating triggers, 2-stage actuating grips, which unlocks a ton of control customization. They use the same magnetic thumbstick as the new Steam controller for better reliability and a very small dead zone. And they each have their own independent gyros that can be rebound for aiming or whatever you want. I can't tell if they were being suggestive there, given the popularity of certain VR applications, but I can't say for sure that they weren't. Both controllers have an integrated IMU to track positional data and 18 infrared LEDs that can be tracked by the 4 high field of view cameras that are integrated into the frame's core module. These were strategically positioned so that even if you were, say for example, drawing an arrow from a quiver, it should be able to maintain tracking. Now, I didn't get a chance to try that, nor did I get to fire up Beat Saber, my favorite application for evaluating controller tracking under extreme conditions. But from just shaking them around in the menu, they seem to track extremely well. Valve is claiming about 40 hours of battery life off of a single AA, and this battery compartment is a perfect transition into the customizability that's on display with this headset. They're going to have an optional accessory kit that includes knuckle straps for the controller, as well as a second head strap with a top Velcro piece if you like a bit of additional support.
Also,
I personally liked it better, but I also didn't feel like it was necessary like it is on the much heavier Apple Vision Pro. There's a lot more to customize on the frame itself, too. It includes a spacer gasket for folks with long eyelashes and to improve compatibility with glasses, but Valve fully acknowledges that not everyone will want to use that because it does take away a little bit from their claimed about 110-degree field of view, so they are working on prescription lenses for the headset itself. We even
Quest 3 FOV. 103, and this is almost 110.
saw a box of them, but there's no specific timeline on that. IPD adjustments are handled with a little knob on the top that spins a cog on the core module, and this is really cool. Right between the goggles at the bottom here is an expansion port that allows up to two 2.5 gigabit MIPI cameras, or a single camera with a PCIe Gen 4 by 1 slot, allowing all kinds of possibilities for additional accessories. Like if you wanted color cameras, for instance. The built-in ones are only monochromatic. Or if you wanted, I don't know, a smell sensor. The sky's the limit. Since we're on the subject of the cameras, Valve says that they will work for inside-out tracking even in pitch darkness thanks to IR emitters that are built into the headset itself. And you can expect tracking performance on the order of about 200 to 250 updates per second, which is about on par with the Valve Index. Not something that I expected. Now that I've had a chance to gather my thoughts and eat some crappy airport food, let's talk about how Valve is delivering a PC VR-like experience wirelessly when big names like Apple and Meta have tried and never really succeeded. It starts with the least interesting looking part, this 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi dongle. Valve built the headset with 2 radios and 2 antennas for Wi-Fi, along with a 3rd dedicated antenna for your controllers or your Bluetooth peripherals. One of those Wi-Fi antennas handles 5 gigahertz for your game downloads, your multiplayer data, your voice chat, etc. The other one connects to a very high-end home router, or more likely, Valve's dongle using the so far mostly unused 6 gigahertz band. This is a perfect use case for 6 gigahertz, since it lacks the wall penetration that you might want for home Wi-Fi, but it excels at avoiding 2.4 and 5 gigahertz channel congestion while pushing huge amounts of bandwidth. With that said, while the theoretical maximum is right up there with wired connections, in the real world it falls well short of that. So what's the secret? Foveated streaming. Seeing this in action blew my flipping mind. Basically, the idea behind it is similar to foveated rendering, where the headset tracks your eyes and tells your GPU, hey, only render the area of focus at full fidelity and save your resources on the rest of the scene. It's a technique that's been used to great effect on the handful of PSVR 2 titles that exist, but has been largely untapped on the PC side, largely because it depends on game developers to implement it. And also, most headsets don't have built-in eye tracking, so why would they bother? Foveated streaming then. Again, same idea. Focus your resources wherever the eyes are looking. Except in this case, it's not the GPU saving on rendering resources, it's the video encoding stream saving on bitrate. So you get crystal clear, high bitrate encoding, exactly where your eyes are looking, and then a little bit blurry everywhere else. At least in theory. In practice, it reacted so fast that no matter how quickly I tried to move my eyes, I wasn't able to catch it. But I also don't feel too bad about that. Valve put on an incredible demo for me in Half-Life Alyx, where they highlighted the maximum fidelity window as I was looking around. And even though they say it's only about 10% of the total video stream, it ends up being a pretty large window. Wild. As for the encoding latency, well, thanks to some clever parallelization of the encoding, you can expect anywhere from 1 to 2 milliseconds of extra latency on a modern GPU, and 4 to 5 for a slightly older but still VR-capable one. Not enough to notice or to contribute to significant motion sickness. And it keeps getting better. I managed to get almost 50 feet away from the dongle without a noticeable difference in the experience. Now, granted, this is still line of sight, but it's a lot further than I can get with a tether. Now, I did bring up the possibility of more than one of these devices causing interference with each other, and Valve said that while they have operated multiple headsets concurrently in the same space, they haven't explored more demanding use cases like packed VR cafes. Moving on to audio. The built-in solution is both incredibly impressive and also a little disappointing. I'm impressed by the audio quality. They apparently had to use opposing drivers to cancel out the vibrations to make sure that the inside-out tracking wouldn't get messed up, and they sound fantastic. As for the mic, I didn't get a chance to test it, but Valve assured me that the mics should carry on the Index's incredible reputation.
That is like the least thing I care about.
Performance. I'm disappointed because I literally had the engineer who worked on the Index and this new headset in the room with me, and when I asked her for a gaming headset with all this same audio black magic, she just shrugged. So, sorry y'all, I tried. In all seriousness, the speakers don't fire directly into your ears, so there is a bit more sound bleed than with the Index, but it doesn't seem like a game breaker, depending on what you're watching and who's around. The last couple of experiences I want to talk about are a huge deal whether you plan to use them or not. The first is Thex, an open source project that Valve has been contributing, and this is a quote, quite heavily to. It's a translation layer that allowed me to experience a completely standard Windows x86 game, Hades 2 in this case, running directly on the hardware on the frame. I'm talking x86 code designed to run on Windows, running on a Snapdragon 8650 running Linux. Holy freaking mind blown. They're planning a compatibility list a la Great on Deck for the future. But wait a second, running on Linux? Yeah, Valve's been busy porting SteamOS to ARM. How did they drop so much news on one day? The frame does everything that you know and love about SteamOS, like fast suspend and resume and performance overlays, except on your VR headset directly. And as I mentioned briefly in the intro, if you blinked you might have missed it, with this new ARM processor comes the ability to, supposedly, run Android APKs by directly sideloading them onto the Steam frame. And given how many VR experiences are designed to run on mobile devices, this is a colossal win. And with Valve's commitment to putting microSD card slots on all their devices, it can't be too hard to install. Now, there are still some areas where the frame doesn't seem to be industry-leading. The light seal isn't perfect, especially if you compare it to the Beyond 2 with its custom 3D printed gasket. The pass-through cameras, they're just monochromes, so don't expect to be wearing your frame out and about like people did with the Apple Vision Pro for the first week or so. From my very...
All these drawbacks are just making me think it's going to cost less, and I'm getting more excited. I just really hope it's not $1,000. I hope it's not more than $1,000. Only thing keeping me on Windows is the games. If I can't get a reliable VR headset to run on Linux OS, I'm switching for good. Interesting. Hello, Toko.
Brief and admittedly not side-by-side experience. It's also not the highest clarity nor highest dynamic range display I've ever seen, and it's not as light or compact as, say, the big screen Beyond 2. But it's the overall package that should have the entire rest of the industry stopping and going, how did Valve, who, as of 2021, supposedly had less than 350 employees, manage to outmaneuver monsters like Meta, who spent $17.7 billion on Reality Labs just last fiscal year? I would ask Gaben how it happened, but I'm pretty sure he's busy on his yacht. All I know is that I want one, whether it's for wireless PC gaming, native gaming on the road with minimal bulk in my bag, or even just relaxing on the couch watching movies on the big screen. Like, what kind of sucker needs a big TV when this thing exists? So, with the frame clearly taking the place of the Index in Valve's lineup, what happens to all the users of the Index and, maybe more importantly, the third-party ecosystem that exists around its base stations and Knuckles controllers? The short answer is the Index is EOL. But the long answer is Valve would love to see other players in the VR space approach them about continuing to support or even continuing to manufacture these devices. Whether that'll happen, I don't know, but at least Valve is open to the conversation. Just like I'm open to telling you about our sponsor.
Grammarly. Writing things like an essay or even a quick thank you card.
Hey everyone.
You got a Vive Cosmos that requires 2 separate pieces of software to handshake and run for VR. I used to have a Vive Cosmos. I had a Vive. I've had an HTC Vive. Then I switched to Vive Cosmos. Then I switched to Quest 2, and now I'm on Quest 3. I thought the Cosmos was okay. Better controllers than the wands of the original HTC. But yeah.
This is Steam Deck. Steam Deck is our powerful, portable, handheld gaming PC that lets you take your Steam library with you anywhere. We're pretty proud of it. People who own Steam Decks have been playing everywhere, and we couldn't be happier with the response we've heard from all of you. We're excited to talk about the future of Steam Deck, but not today, because this isn't a video about the future of Steam Deck. This is a video about the future of Steam hardware. Today, we're announcing 3 new members of the Steam hardware lineup. All connect you with powerful PC gaming. All are optimized for gaming with Steam, and all are shipping in early 2026. Let's start with this one.
It's so close, it's around the corner.
This is the new Steam controller.
The
new
so
Steam
chunky.
controller puts all of your Steam games at your fingertips, so you can play wherever and however you want. Just like with Steam Deck, we want you to be able to play any game with your Steam controller, even games never built with a controller in mind. It has all the great features from Steam Deck, like trackpads, gyro, and back buttons, all in a comfortable form factor. Its next-generation magnetic thumbsticks let you play with improved responsiveness and longevity. We've put capacitive touch sensors on the thumbsticks and now on the back of the controller too, so you can enable precision gyro aiming with the touch of your thumb, or your pinky if you're feeling fancy. Play for way too long with a rechargeable lithium-ion battery that allows for over 35 hours of playtime. With Steam Controller, we want to make charging and wireless pairing something that's actually easy. That's why we created the Puck. The Puck is a combination wireless adapter and magnetic charger included with every Steam controller. Snap it on to charge. Once you're charged up, snap it off again. You can play over Bluetooth or a wired connection too. The new Steam controller works with any device running Steam or Steam Link, whether it's a PC, Mac, handheld, smartphone, Steam Deck, or the new Steam Machine. Oh, this is the new Steam Machine. Steam Machine is a powerful gaming PC in a small but mighty package, designed for your games on the big screen. It's quiet too, which is crazy since it's 6 times more powerful than a Steam Deck, powered by a discrete, semi-custom AMD GPU, enabling 4K gaming at 60 frames per second with FSR. Steam Machine runs SteamOS made for a bigger screen, built for gaming in your living room, your office, or wherever you play, with the rest of your PC accessories. Steam Machine borrows some great features from Steam Deck, like lightning-fast sleep and wake, an SD card slot to easily expand your storage, and brings some new tricks of its own, like a customizable LED strip, which can show different system functionalities, or your own light show. Steam Machine is a PC, so run whatever software you want, and it works with all your favorite desktop and gaming accessories. Steam Machine is designed to work hand in hand with the Steam controller, with the low latency, wireless connectivity of the Steam controller puck built right in. And it's great for streaming your games to your phone, tablet, laptop, Steam Deck, or Steam Frame. Oh, yep, this is Steam Frame. Steam Frame is Valve's next-generation VR hardware. Stream all your Steam games, VR and non-VR alike, in this comfortable, lightweight, wireless VR headset. Steam Frame uses camera-based tracking, so getting into your games is as easy as slipping on the headset and waking it up. Steam Frame controllers, included with the headset, are designed with all the inputs you need for your VR titles, like motion controls and capacitive tracking for all your fingers.
I like how they had to say included with the headset because they sell the index without
they even
the
feature
controllers.
the same magnetic thumbsticks as Steam controller for responsiveness and longevity. Steam Frame also pairs seamlessly with the new Steam controller, a great companion for playing non-VR games in the headset. To make sure streaming is smooth and stable no matter what, Steam Frame includes a wireless adapter that lets you stream your games from your PC to your headset over a fast and dedicated Wi-Fi 6 connection. And the game is streamed to your frame optimized for VR, using new technology that allows for the highest resolution streaming exactly where your eyes are looking. And Steam Frame is a PC, running Steam OS. In addition to streaming, you can install and play a bunch of VR and non-VR games right in the headset without a host PC. You can also expand your onboard storage to fit even more games with a micro SD card. Steam Controller, Steam Machine, and Steam Frame. All built with the same DNA as Steam Deck, all powered by Steam, work together, and can be used however you'd like with whatever peripherals and accessories you choose. Everything you see here is the culmination of what we've learned from our previous hardware experience and what we've wanted ourselves as gamers. Powerful PC gaming in an open ecosystem, giving you more ways to enjoy the games you love and discover new ones. Steam Controller, Steam Machine, and Steam Frame are all shipping in early 2026.
Give me a date.
steampowered.com/hardware.
Yeah, it's way too early. Plenty of speculations, but we're not gonna get an exact price anytime soon. Okay, I know that if I play this, it's just gonna be the same. It's gonna be the same information again, but we're basically brainwashing ourselves. Okay.
I know what you're probably thinking. Why put out a VR headset in 2026? Big hit VR games have been few and far between in recent years, but Valve is convinced that there's still an appetite for VR, especially if it can make a headset that combines the best of what headsets offer today and innovate in key areas. That's where the Steam Frame comes in, a successor to the Valve Index that came out in 2019.
That's another thing. This headset only has eye tracking at the moment. I don't know if there's going to be some kind of attachment that you could buy separately, because they did say that you can attach stuff to the very front of it, but I think that's more for like cameras and stuff. But that doesn't mean that you still can't buy like a Project Babel, which Fox is still waiting for his. I wouldn't go for Project Babel until I would just like make sure Project Babel orders are actually coming through before you buy from them, because Fox has been waiting since November of last year, and he still has not gotten it yet. It's insane.
Along with the new Steam Machine and Steam Controller, I was able to use the upcoming Steam Frame when I visited Valve last month, and it is genuinely impressive tech that I wish came out a lot sooner. I'll start with a few of the basic tech specs. The Steam Frame can be used as a standalone device like the Meta Quest 3, as it's powered by a 4nm Snapdragon ARM processor and 16GB of RAM. It'll be available in 256GB and 1TB UFS storage options, and there's also a micro SD slot for expansion. Its pancake optics put out 2160 by 2160 resolution per eye and can do between 72Hz to 120Hz refresh rate with an experimental 144Hz. And its FOV goes up to 110 degrees. The Steam Frame does inside-out tracking via 4 outward-facing cameras with IR illuminators for dark environments and 2 interior cameras for eye tracking. There's no need for lighthouse sensors anymore, as external VR sensors are officially a thing of the past. However, the biggest innovation here is in its wireless tethering tech.
Wait, were the Steam Frame possible with full-body tracking without the need for external trackers? No. You gotta buy trackers still. You gotta buy trackers and base stations. Like, I'm keeping my base stations and trackers because they're not a part of another headset. They can be used for any headset, pretty much. I bought my base stations and trackers separately from like any kit, so I'm keeping those for sure forever. I don't see anytime soon that I would get rid of the base stations. So yeah, unfortunately, yeah, that is definitely going to be a much larger expense is tracking for legs and feet, or feet and hips.
Steam Frame comes with a USB receiver that connects the headset to a PC wirelessly through a super low latency 6 GHz signal. This lets you wield the power of your PC without cables tying you to it and without any jarring lag that'd make you sick.
That's another thing that I hope brings down the price a lot, is that it is a headset and controllers. And yeah, the only one item VR tech that is so fucking expensive is the big screen VR. That is like $1,000 to $1,200, and you just get the headset. The $1,200 ones I think has eye tracking in it. So yeah, I don't know how much of a price bump it will be that it has eye tracking. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's the biggest difference between the Quest 3 and this one. And then a lot of like speedy hardware stuff too. I don't know. This is very. I'm in the rabbit hole for sure.
I tested this myself, playing about 15 minutes of Half-Life Alyx on the Steam Frame, and just anecdotally, it ran flawlessly. Of course, this was under perfect conditions, but movement tracking, gesturing with the controls, and image quality were all on point, living up to my memory of playing it on the Index via a wired connection when I reviewed it back in 2020. And with Wi-Fi 7, it'll work simultaneously when connected to the internet without interference. Because of the bandwidth and the speed afforded by 6 GHz wireless signals, Valve is able to wield a new technique called foveated streaming. With eye tracking, the headset is able to recognize where you're looking and immediately focus resources there for optimal image quality and the highest resolution to the visible area. It's a similar idea to foveated rendering, where the game itself will dedicate your system's resources to better handle the load for performance and graphics. But with foveated streaming, it's happening at the hardware level, so it's not something developers need to worry about implementing themselves. Either way, it's key to understand that this is not necessarily affecting core performance, rather it's to ensure that the wireless feed stays lag-free and looking its best. Both the freedom of sharp built-in tracking and fast wireless connectivity, along with the power of a proper gaming PC, this makes for the ideal VR experience. But that's not all the Steam Frame excels at. It's fairly lightweight overall, and its weight distribution makes it feel like a natural extension of yourself rather than a front-loaded brick that's strapped to my head. Its battery is actually on the rear of the head strap, so it's more balanced than other VR headsets I've used, and if you need to plug in, the USB port is also on the back, so the cable stays out of your way. The padding around the headset is plushy and was comfortable in the short time that I used it, and the strap was easily adjustable to get the right fit. The Steam Frame also runs on SteamOS natively, so you get the same interface and quality of life features as you would on the Steam Deck or the upcoming Steam Machine, including the advantage of Proton. But I was surprised by how much I enjoyed the virtual theater experience when using the Steam Frame. Like other VR headsets, you're able to play non-VR games inside of it through a fake TV that SteamOS projects within the headset's virtual space. And on the frame, it looked really crisp. I played about 10 minutes of Hades 2 at 4K with the virtual screen blown up to its maximum size, like having an 100-inch TV I didn't have to buy or fit into my living room space. This kind of experience isn't new, I know, but the seamless integration through SteamOS also makes it very easy to use, and the super fast wireless tech means you can play PC games with the full strength of your system at low latency. I did notice a bit of stuttering at times with the image rendering, similar to how screen tearing looks, but further testing in the future has me curious about how reliable it's going to be. While Valve is intending the Steam Frame to be primarily used with the wireless tether for robust VR experiences, the internal hardware is decent enough for certain games. I played the puzzle adventure game Ghost Town, and while it ran smoothly, it was visually a bit muddy, which speaks to the competent but modest power of the Snapdragon ARM processor. But the ARM compatibility is impressive for running less demanding stuff. To be clear though, don't expect Half-Life Alyx to be playable straight off of the internals of the Steam Frame. The new frame controllers are also an evolution of the excellent Index controllers, including capacitive touch sensors for recognizing hand gestures and the grip of your fingers. The battery slots are placed so as to not get in the way of this, as they need one AA battery each and should last for about 40 hours of use. They feature the TMR magnetic sticks and HD haptics you see on the new Steam controller, and have all the features you would come to expect from a traditional gamepad to create this parity across all sorts of games. The NX controllers were bulky for sure, but I do miss how their strap pad design latched onto my hands to feel like they're in tune with VR itself. Conversely, the frames use a more standard wrist strap design, which feels less of an extension of my hands, but makes them more versatile as controllers. Lastly, I should mention the built-in speakers, which sounded solid and are cleverly tucked into the head strap, as is the integrated microphone. Unlike the Index, they're not actual off-ear headphones, but instead integrated into the headband like you see on the Quest 3, which creates a sort of bubble of sound around your head. Now, when looking at the big picture, the Steam Frame is one piece of a larger Steam ecosystem that Valve has established and will keep growing. There's a console-like PC in the Steam Machine, a new state-of-the-art Steam controller, the very successful Steam Deck handheld, and now a smartly designed VR headset. Valve is furthering its claim in PC gaming with all of these devices hitting market, while having SteamOS and Proton mature enough to position itself as a serious gaming platform holder. But the Frame in particular begs the question of where VR gaming is today and where it might be going in the future. As someone who got in on it on day one, reviewing the original HTC Vive and Oculus Rift back in 2016, and keeping up since then, I'm a little perplexed by the state of VR games, especially with something technically great as the PSVR 2 getting very mild software support. I thought Half-Life Alyx set a bar so high that others would try to reach, with the hope of getting a wave of great new VR games in the process, but such wasn't really the case.
You have no idea how little I play VR games other than VR chat. I cannot even remember the last time I played a non-VR chat VR game. That is a interesting point. Like, I wonder, like, if they're going to release this with some kind of game? Maybe a new Steam game or a Valve game? I don't know. Probably not. Probably not. Maybe they got something up their sleeve. Maybe they'll announce something. I don't know. Phasmophobia? I guess Phasmophobia. But I also played that in desktop mode.
That's not to say that there are noteworthy games that have come out since then, such as Asgard's Wrath 2, but it's remained a niche in the years since. And perhaps Valve is fine with that, so long as it has the go-to piece of hardware for that niche. Hardware lives or dies by its price though, and like the Steam Machine, Valve doesn't have anything to share quite yet. For reference, a 512GB MetaQuest 3 goes for $500 at regular price as of now, so the Steam Frame will have to at least compete in that range. We'll know for certain when we get closer to its early 2026 release, and when we find out, you'll definitely hear it from us first. If you need the lowdown on all of Valve's newly announced hardware, check out our hands-on previews of the Steam Machine and Steam Controller. And to keep up with everything in the world of games and tech, stick with IGN.
Alright, one more video, then I think we'll be all caught up. This one's the long one.
I know it.
This one's the tested video. This must be at the same exact place that they're testing this at. Yeah, the lights on the ceiling look exactly the same.
Here at Valve's headquarters up in Bellevue, Washington, where I'm here today checking out a bunch of newly announced hardware products. There's the new Steam Machine, Steam Controller, which we're going to cover in a separate video, but most exciting to me is finally the reveal of Valve's new VR headset. This is the Steam Frame. Now, if you recall, the Valve Index was announced almost 6 years ago now, and I first checked that out. And since then, we'd all been curious about what if Valve was going to continue making a VR headset, if they were still into VR, and now we have some answers. So I want to run through some of the specs and how this works. I want to jump into a conversation deep dive with some of the Valve engineers who worked on the Steam Frame and have lots more to share afterward. Take a quick look. It's actually more akin to a standalone VR headset than a tethered PC VR headset that we've seen in the past, like the Valve Index. In fact, you can almost call it very inspired by the Steam Deck in that it's a device that can run
gonna break it
games
and grab it.
locally as well as stream them, both flat screen and VR games. So in the front here, in what they call the compute module, let's take a look at this. This is a engineering prototype. The entire headset, the guts of it, is basically in here. This is about 185 grams, and that includes the displays. There are two 2160 by 2160 resolution LCD, custom LCD panels here behind Pancake optics that they've designed for roughly 110-degree field of view, adjustable IPD via a dial, and then also a processor. They're running a Qualcomm Snapdragon 4nm processor, their latest one, to run their version of SteamOS. Now you might be wondering, wait a minute, Qualcomm, that's Snapdragon, that's an ARM processor, and PC games run on primarily x86 and on Windows. And Valve has done an incredible job on the Steam Deck side of making Windows games run on Linux with their Proton translation layer. On the Steam Frame, they've actually worked on a project called FEX to adapt x86 content into ARM and have that emulate as well as run Proton, so you can run your entire Steam library of games as well as PC VR games locally on the headset here. It also does stream content from your PC, so if you have a beefy gaming computer, what comes in the box is this USB stick, this dongle that's basically a Wi-Fi 6E router, plugs into a USB port, USB 2 or 3, and then does some custom compression work to send a high quality signal of that game running locally onto then your headset. Has two new controllers here. These are not like the Valve Index controllers, although there will be an accessory to allow you to use them without having to hold on to them. But you have controllers that are more akin to what you find on a traditional gamepad, including a D-pad on the left side, two thumbsticks, ABXY buttons, and capacitive buttons on ABXY on the D-pad, on your thumb rest, and also finger sensing, as well as a grip button and two trigger buttons. A lot of input options. This and the world are now being tracked on the Steam Frame using 4 cameras, so inside-out tracking. Doesn't use Lighthouse base stations, and so there are 4 ultra-wide view monochrome cameras that do the world sensing, the controller tracking, as well as a set of IR emitters behind the headset here that blast into the world, so you can also track and use this in the dark. Look at the headset right now, and you can see there are these 4 ultra-wide monochrome cameras for world tracking and controller tracking, both the Steam Frame controllers as well as the new Steam controller. There are a pair of microphones on the bottom. There are vents for air intake and exhaust that goes out the top as it's being powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon processor, and then also speakers. On the inside, you have a removable face gasket, and they will have a spacer option for people with additional eye relief needs. There's a kind of light seal nose gasket that is removable right there. And on the top, you can see an IPD dial that adjusts your IPD to fit for your needs. There is eye tracking for their foveated streaming. And then, interestingly, there's also a micro SD card slot, not just for expandable storage, but because this runs SteamOS, you can drop in literally the micro SD card you have in your Steam Deck and play those games natively and immediately in Steam Frame. The whole compute module detaches with these 3 latches that you toggle. And so this becomes a modular aspect where you can see this custom connector at the top, but also you can see the IPD adjustment mechanism that's turning that lead right there. And that's connected to a single cable to their battery pack, which is also have the removable pad. It's a segmented battery, so it can have this contour that fit the back of your head. and that counterbalances the entire headset. So the whole weight with the compute module and the headset is about 435 grams, with the option of an ergonomic strap that you can hook onto the top, hook onto the back to take more weight off the front of your head. Most of this is made with plastic, including a lot of their pancake lenses. So this is extremely light at 185 grams for display panel, compute, and lenses. Basically everything except the battery. Volume there.
Blah.
Power button right here. And also an expansion slot on the bottom. It's also a custom port, but the hope is that might enable some type of additional pass-through camera for color pass-through, if that's something that they're thinking about in the future. It's such a big departure from what we thought Valve was going to do, what they had been doing with their partnership with HTC, with the Vive, with their development of the Index, and it's the latest evolution of Valve's approach to VR. There's much more to talk about, so for that we're going to jump into a conversation I had with Jeremy, Joy, and Lawrence on the Valve team to talk about all things Steam Frame. Let's jump in. All right, Jeremy, Joy, Lawrence, thank you so much for having me here to check out the Steam Frame. Seems like it's been a product that you guys have been working on for a long time. I see a lot of DNA of Valve Index, but also Steam Deck primarily, and what you guys learned from making Steam Deck. But it's a VR headset, so I got some nuts and bolts questions I want to go to first. This one has what you guys call, is that a core module?
Yeah.
Is that in the front? And that's not just display, optics, but processor.
Yeah, this has the entire processor on the inside. It's a 4-nanometer Qualcomm ARM chip.
Is that equivalent to, I know Qualcomm has, like XR2 plus Gen 2.
Yeah,
I
I believe it's a little bit after that in capabilities. It's from a different line of processors, but it's now part of the XR series.
So that's an ARM processor that you're using. That does all the processing for your inside-out tracking. This is now 4 cameras, you said? Is that right?
4 cameras on the outside used for tracking. They're very high field of view monochrome cameras. They're also extremely good in the dark, which is why we have IR illuminators to allow tracking in complete darkness. But there's also 2 additional cameras on the inside as part of the eye tube that allows for eye tracking.
Right. There's so much here that, like you pointed out, there's an SD card slot here to load in your the same games that you might have on a Steam Deck. There's expandability port on the bottom, but of course, display and optics. I remember you, Jeremy, told me like when you guys did the Valve Index, a lot of the Valve Index design was finding the right panels and then kind of building a headset around those panels. It seems like here, it's the right processor panels and optics. Those things have to work really well together.
Yeah, we really wanted to find a balance for this product. I think Valve Index had certain goals which were really around the high-end, premium, high-fidelity experience. On this product, it was much more inspired by the Index as well as the Steam Deck, as you mentioned. So when you make those trade-offs, we very much wanted to put a lot of the attention into the processor. This has 16 gigabytes of RAM, which means you can play a very extended portion of the catalog when you have standalone play. But that said, the optics are very good, and we're very proud of them. So these use new pancake optics that we've designed in-house. They have a very good eye box, which means you can, as you look around the scene, the world feels very stable. It's sharp edge to edge, and it's also a compact folded light path, so it's very shallow and also very lightweight. I mean, you can feel the core module.
That's 185 grams,
yes.
you said, right?
Yeah.
I know that with pancake lenses, it takes a lot of light, with the polarization and all the lights folding. So I assume your panel is pretty bright. But
yes.
It's an LCD panel, 2 LCD panels?
Yeah, these are 2 LCD panels. Each one is at 2160 by 2160.
So square panels?
Yep. I should say it's a square aspect ratio in terms of the graphics we send it. They actually have little notches cut out.
Got it.
In terms of the ergonomic design. You can actually, from some angles, almost see them inside. Like you can tell in an effort to get rid of all the weight for the product, you can basically see into certain portions of the display. They are also very high refresh. So similar to Index, these go from 72 hertz all the way up to 120, and then a 144 experimental mode.
Tell me about the process of finding these panels and the characteristics that you're looking for to make this experience.
Yeah, similar to the things we've learned in the past. It carries that same trajectory forward. So we want very fast trends, very fast response times. So you think about sending one 144 hertz frame to the next one. That's a very short amount of time. You need the panel to fully transition.
There's a finger
We
smudge
care a
on
lot
there.
about sharpness, edge to edge, and pixel quality. You want them to be crystal clear. And those are the things we really prioritized.
Have you
for these
found that
panels.
the supply of panels have evolved to a point where you guys, like, was there a jump in that technology? We found low persistence, high pixel fill panels.
Yeah, it's been very impressive. We are working with a few suppliers now, and the fact that what used to be a bespoke one supplier on the planet who knew how to make them, we've now seen it where lots of people can work with us to create this tech.
We're a long way from the original HTC Vive
Yes.
days of
Yeah.
repurposing phone panels.
Right. Yeah. But they are LCD panels. What's the brightness that you're quoting? After
We're
those two
targeting a
lenses?
little above 100 nits at the eye, but of course, as you mentioned with pancake optics, they're substantially brighter at the panel.
So that's removable. So it must be modular to some sense, right? So can you talk a little bit, like Joy, what the aspects of that people can use maybe after the fact, what you guys are thinking of, you guys, for how people will customize these?
Absolutely. So you'll notice that the audio is integrated into the head strap along with the battery, and that part is removable. So we prioritize making this a very lightweight, very comfortable, seamless solution. And so we have 2 drivers per side here. That's vibration cancellation. They're actually oriented in a really interesting way on either side. Because as you notice, it's right next to where the tracking system is, and there's an IMU on here that it would interfere with otherwise. And so we did a lot of really great things to make this a good audio experience. And then we also have 2 microphones on the bottom for voice pickup as well. So if you remove this, you'll notice that, this is very easy to swap out. We're not ready to announce anything today, but certainly we understand that there's different needs for the audio community, some premium solutions, and then some sort of ease of use solutions for comfort and portability.
I like how
And so we
easily it
wanna
pops
support,
off.
the needs of our community. But this will be the
Because like
HTC
that is one
device.
thing that
And then there's also a battery.
that is one thing that Meta is fucking terrible at is the ease of swappable stuff. The Quest 2 was kind of alright, but this Quest 3, swapping stuff out feels like you're gonna break the fucking headset. I've already broken the spacer, which is notorious for breaking on the Quest 3. The spacer where if you want to like extend it forward or extend it backward, that part broke so quickly. And it broke for a lot of people. But yeah, swappable stuff done right is really cool. Hello, Extreme Metal Goth. Hello.
On the back.
We're
And
learning
again,
about the
nothing to announce
frame.
today, but we will be exploring different options that will connect to the core module through this connector right here.
Yeah. This battery, is it a curved battery that you have designed?
It's a multi-cell design.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you talk about capacity? What's the
21.6 watt hours.
Watt hour,
Yeah.
yep.
And there's so many different ways you can run.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's hard to put
Yeah.
a length of time on that. It just really depends on what you're doing. Streaming obviously will last much longer than playing standalone.
Yeah.
And there is a USB-C port on the back.
Mm.
So if you wanted to bring your own battery, you can also augment what's currently the capacity that ships with the device.
Is this only power in? Do you have any
It's
data
also
pass-through?
USB 2.
Okay, USB 2.
Yes.
But there's no way, because streaming is it's a wireless solution right now. We'll talk
Yep.
about that for sure. But this is it feels like a departure from what you've done in previous PCVR headsets, and that there's no display port input.
Correct.
You're doing inside-out
Yeah.
tracking. There's no way to
I will say, like I'm someone who's spent a lifetime looking at pixels very close up. When streaming, I've even had to change the desktop background from my SteamVR on my PC to SteamVR running locally, because most of the time I can't tell.
Yeah.
Like it with the foveated streaming sort of multiplying effect, like it's just under all conditions where it's working, you just won't see it.
So you think of this really as a separate product, separate category from the Index, even though they're
Yeah.
like VR headsets. The Index controllers don't work with this. You don't need base stations anymore. Is the Index kind of going to be retired at this point? Is that
Yeah,
the idea?
Index is no longer in production. We still love it. We intend to support it indeterminately in the future, as we do with previous VR products as well. But we're no longer going to be producing Index.
Okay, so let's talk about the gaming experiences, because there are like 3 distinct different types of ways you can play games on this. First, for PCVR streaming, you guys have this wireless, basically a USB router here. So tell me about this and its capabilities.
Yeah, so that's a 6 gigahertz essentially endpoint
It
that you
has
can
like
plug into
it
your
has
PC
fans on it.
via
I could
either
see like
USB 2 or
exhaust
USB
on
3,
it.
and it allows for a dedicated communications to the headset's dedicated radio in the 6 gigahertz spectrum.
So even at USB 2, you're going to
Absolutely.
hit max bit rate, I think that's like 480 megabits per second.
That's
What's your
insane. You can see
streaming
the
cap? How do you
little
deal with
exhausts
the
on
streaming
the
bit rate?
USB dongle.
Yeah, to your headset.
So the streaming bitrate, we should confirm later, but it's on the order of 250 megabits per second. But that's the base rate. And remember, we talked about all those techniques that allow you to have a higher effective bandwidth because we're really steering them to where you're looking. So you can think about it as almost a 10x multiplier, depending on the ratio of the pixels in your where you're looking to the pixels in the full frame.
To clarify for the viewers out there, you're talking about foveated rendering. This is eye tracking, but the rendering, it's foveated streaming.
Streaming, we're calling it.
So the desktop PC or laptop that you have this plugged into, you can run your games. You're asking your dedicated GPU to run it full resolution, super sample, as high fidelity as you would normally get for PCVR, and then you have, through a automated dynamic way, making sure those 240, 250 megabits is focused on just where you're
exactly
looking, at a low latency.
Yes, and in our experience, it's essentially seamless. Obviously, you can report on your experience, but we're happy with it enough that we decided now is the time to ship this product.
And typically, there's a trade-off in like latency, compute, and bit rate and fidelity. How do you find that happy medium? To make sure you can get the max.
Absolutely. It's always a balance, right? Nothing comes for free. We're trading latency and even robustness, right? You can think about when you send information across that wireless link, you're always going to lose some of that information. So,
wait, Tundra Labs sells those massive dongles too? I mean, I have Tundra Labs trackers. What are their dongles for? Because my dongle doesn't have that. They have beefy dongles. I'll look it up. Is it for like... Or maybe it does have an exhaust. Maybe it's just very like... It's like a very thin line in the design. That one on the screen had like little squares, little squares for the ventilation. They have a dongle hub. I haven't looked at the Tundra website in so long. They have gloves now? Studio glove. Jeez, that's expensive for a pair of VR gloves. Oh my god. And you still have to attach trackers to it. Jesus. Jeez. Alright, let's continue.
There's things like forward error correction. There's all sorts of other techniques that come into play. And we have to balance all of them. But we care immensely about latency and robustness. And those were sort of our top two. And then to make sure that you didn't see those compression artifacts, that was the technology that actually came about last, which is why we were compelled to put the eye tracking tech in this headset.
And that's on by default. That's a standard.
Yep, that's on by default. In fact, I'm fairly sure there's no way to defeat it. It's always existing. And once again, it doesn't require the developers to take any action on their part. For foveated rendering, they have that option if they'd like, but it's not compulsory.
I know for a lot of PCVR gamers who do streaming, they buy various highest end routers, right? And what is the highest Wi-Fi spec this might support if someone wants to use their own?
So this is a Wi-Fi 7 capable device. As we talk about the full system end to end, we're talking about it as a 6E experience because this dongle is 6E.
But if they have a Wi-Fi 7 router, they can use their own solution, what they're happy with, their configuration. Will that still tap into the foveated streaming?
Yes.
Well, okay, that's just on SteamOS side.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, we're like Jeremy was saying, we're really excited about this new foveated streaming technology because like it doesn't require the customer or the developer to do any work. It's just a system level feature that automatically sends the most important bits directly to where you're looking on the display, and only the most important bits are going across that wireless link.
Yeah, and at that frequency, direct line of sight is obviously the best, but this is ideally used for in the same room. Is that the idea?
We're gonna let people decide what works in their environment and tell us
Yeah.
as we send out the dev kits. I personally am in my household, like I can set it up in one room and use it a few rooms over.
Okay.
But your experience may vary. For those people with excellent home Wi-Fi, once again, you can do anything you want at Valve. We're fortunate to have amazing Wi-Fi, so we don't, strictly speaking, even use this. We can just walk around the entire building and have a Wi-Fi experience that's building-sized. But for the home user, we think this will be a wonderful solution.
Okay, so that's PCVR wireless streaming. The other things, and really impressive because you talk about this being an ARM processor. It's the
Yes.
first time you have Steam officially running on ARM. Tell me about how that works with Proton and with now the emulator that gets
Sure.
ARM
And
working
actually,
as x86.
before you mention that, because there's actually four ways. The one that we did not test today, right now in this session, is regular PC gaming streaming. So you can also stream very high fidelity AAA non-VR titles
Right.
into that same giant game theater, but also using the same streaming technology.
Yeah.
So there's actually four ways to play.
Right. There's VR that's streaming, VR that's local. There's flat screen streaming, which for extended battery life, and then flat screen local.
Yep.
So flat screen local, you have this virtual cinema display. You can adjust it. You can have pass through. I'm sure that works. But those sounds like developers, just like on Steam Deck, don't have to do anything. They're making games for x86 for Windows, but you now have it running SteamOS ARM.
Yes, absolutely. We're super proud of that trick.
Yeah, and our hope is developers don't have to do anything. So, for example, Hades 2, Supergiant was happy to let us use this demo today, but they didn't do any work. That is actually just the same game that is downloaded to PC for PC gaming. One of the reasons we're opening developer kits is we do want more developers to try it out and see how their games will play standalone, to see if we missed anything and what we can do to improve that developer experience to bringing games to Steam Frame.
I know that Proton's been continuously updated, and it's been really surprising how seamlessly it's worked. But at the translation layer, you're kind of adapting the API calls. How does FEX work, and is that more does that need to be updated on a per game basis, or is that just like one and done? You're getting as long as ARM can run as x86.
Yeah, it's very analogous to the trajectory and the roadmap we did for Proton. So FEX has been under development for a while. Like it's a fully open source project. You can go check it out after the session and look at all the commits for every single game. Basically, as each new game comes online, they might explore, in terms of performance, certain implications where, oh, this game doesn't work well because it's doing the following sequence of CPU calls, like, oh, nobody has implemented that specific x86 extension. We didn't think it was needed, but this game requires it. So when we first started bringing FEX online, maybe 1.5 to 2 years ago, it was mostly games didn't work. And then once in a while, we'd find games that worked, and it was a very short list. And recently, by recently I mean about a year ago, we've sort of transitioned to the point where now I expect games to work. So I'll pick a random game from the back catalog, launch it, and almost all the time it works great. We're still in that early part of the knee, though, so once in a while you'll find a game that will be running and it'll be like 15 hertz, and you're like, this should be more than capable of that, and then you submit a ticket, and a few days later it's now running at 200 hertz, and there was a bug. So we're in those early stages of optimizations, but that's one of the reasons we're so excited to put it out. We're also, just along the same lines, going to be starting a Steam Frame Verified program, analogous to Steam Deck. So when you're playing standalone content, users won't have to go through that testing for themselves. We're going to be doing that hard work, and you'll just go to the website and confirm that the games you want are
both
expected
for flat
to work.
screen and for local VR experiences as well.
For all types of local games.
Well, I remember like Steam Deck, you guys had a targeted performance, kind of profile that was determined by the display you guys set and kind of the power draw. Really, is that how you think of it here? With
No,
this
it's a little
Qualcomm
more
chip?
variable. Simply because Steam Deck, for example, had that 1280 by 800 resolution, and while you could render at other resolutions, it sort of wanted to be at that native res. With Steam Frame for a VR virtual display, there really is no native resolution, and nor is there necessarily even a native refresh rate. We showed you content from 90 hertz to 120, and 144 looks great as well. And so tuning that knob very much is something you would want to do per game based on the type of experience. Like for fast Twitch gaming, you might prefer lower resolution, very high frame rate. And so it's a sort of wider dimensional space to choose what's appropriate for each game.
How would you say compare performance of just the game performance on Steam Frame versus on like Steam Deck OLED? they comparable? Is it this more powerful? Just the game.
I would say that Steam Deck is a little bit more powerful than Steam Frame. I think if we're like one way to look at it is in TDP. So I think Steam Deck like the sweet spot is 15 TDP, and Steam Frame I believe is closer to 7.
Yeah. For the game portion.
Yes.
Of it, right.
Yep.
Because there's overhead for
tracking, for the displays themselves.
If you turn on pass-through, that's probably
$8.99
power as well for
Absolutely.
the cameras. Yeah, these are things.
And we're going to further optimize it over time, but it really is a
$8.99.
trade-off of battery power, thermals, and
It's going to be $8.99.
processing ability.
And then finally, you can play local VR games here, right? So
that is
that's
my
also between games that
prediction.
Are maybe developed for Steam on Windows and ARM-based.
Yeah, so I mean,
VR games.
it is kind of like a myriad of ways. Like you said, you can be playing ARM games made for ARM, but also games made for x86, and it could be VR or not. And our hope is that customers don't have to worry about all the differences, and they can just look at their Steam library and say,
it would be a
I
little
want to play
steep.
this
That
game,"
seems
and
about
it'll launch
right.
and it'll do what they expect. But yeah, it will. Yeah, the goal is that
$8.99?
support
No,
all
it's
of
not
those games
confirmed.
well.
Will developers
That's just
have to
my hunch.
do things to make sure
That
they
is
tap into the
what
camera
I feel like it's
properly
gonna be.
and take advantage of all like the mixed reality features.
I hate people who play like that.
Exposing things like the hand
I mean, I don't hate
I guess
people
I
for
would say
playing
that
like
of
that.
all the
I just
ways
hate
we're
that
looking at
way of
expanding
playing.
right now, we're not putting
I
that
hate
much
the
of a priority
teleport.
on the
I'd
mixed
rather just
reality
walk.
to begin with. We certainly allow it under certain
I'd rather just
conditions.
push
but
forward
we're
and
very
walk.
much excited
You know what I
about
mean?
what I would call the existing Steam catalog. Like, I think one of the superpowers of this device is
All right, guys, let's do something fun. Let's do a bit of gambling. This is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna do. So, stop doing all the fucking redeems. I think it's going to be $8.99. Squish Squash Josh. I'm just gonna do SQSQJ. Want me to put $7.99 for you, Squish Squash? Because that's probably how they're gonna do it. And then Silver says 1,000, so I'll put 999. Oops, I forgot the dollar sign. What's the latest flagship phone? 1,400. Yeah, God, it is, isn't it? They're so fucking. You want me to put 1,400? I don't. There's no way it's gonna be that, Kendall. There's no way. Go high. Okay. Oh shit! I forgot the. Um. Anyone else wanna? Okay. I'll put yours. I still do not know how to say your name. Horuseyo. $69.6. Anyone else wanna guess a price? The winner gets nothing. Boo, 69.99. That's not one. That's not a bad one. That's not a bad guess. Boo says 699. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else wanna? The winner gets a chicken dinner. Would anyone else like to take a guess? Okay, Troy says $1. Troy. Burp, burp. $1. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right, we're gonna clip this moment. These are our guesses for the Steam Frame headset. Today is the announcement release, the 12th of November. Okay. All right, we'll see.
Like if I think about Index, I would go into my VR room if I wanted to do VR, or not my VR room, but my room with my VR PC. Or if I wanted to be in a different room, I would take my Steam Deck and enjoy that. But with this device, for the first time, I can just put it on first, bring up my Steam catalog, and then pick and choose what game. And that can be a VR game or a non-VR game.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the focus of what we're doing. Like, it's cool that this supports some mixed reality stuff, but I wouldn't put that as one of the top tier points. I think it's really focused around the Steam catalog.
Joy, for tracking, these controllers are tracked just like your Index controllers, but like obviously tracked in a different way with IR lights. But how do you guys think about input, and what are the other input methods that you can get into Steam Frame beyond just your Steam Frame controllers?
Sure, because we support the entire Steam catalog, we need to support VR inputs, such as laser, point and click, but we also need to support the gamepad. So for example, you have a D-pad on the left, and you have the ABXY on the right. We're using magnetic TMR thumbsticks, which are sort of next generation for reliability and low drift. And you also, of course, have capacitive sensing of the fingers for VR as well. So we have really the full range of inputs. So you don't have to think about, is this a VR title? Do I need to grab my VR controllers? Is this a non-VR title? Do I need to swap out to a different type of controller? You can just make that transition without having to even think about it. If you do want to use your Steam controller, you can actually use that with this headset as well. But this device, it works well without requiring you to make any decisions about what it is you want to do.
Is this the only track controller option, like that's tracked by in positional space?
So the Steam controller itself also has the LEDs in it.
Oh, it does. Okay.
So you can actually see the controller with this headset as well.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I remember there's a whole generation of games, like for PSVR, that you can see the representation of a controller, and actually is.
Yes, that was part of. I mean, that's part of the benefit of like we're all working on this together in the same building. We're all sitting next to each other.
Yeah.
So when folks working on the Steam controller project were thinking about the design and the features, the Steam Frame folks were also like, hey, people are going to want to use that. It'd be great if that was also trackable when you're in VR. So we made sure to include that feature.
And in many cases, it's the same people. I know you you worked on all three products, I believe.
You just turn around, now I'm on the Frame team. Turn around, now I'm on the Machine team.
And this streams from Steam Machine as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So conceivably, you could be playing a non-VR game in a big virtual theater on the headset with a Steam controller streaming from a Steam machine.
I know it sounds complicated that there's so many sort of ways to mix and match, but our hope is that users won't even have to think about it. They'll just put on the headset and everything will just work.
How do you guys think about social experiences as people get these, and as SteamOS is updated, and that there's a shared language and platform? Are there dedicated social or multiplayer ways to enjoy media together in headset?
That's a great question.
Yeah, it's something that we're really interested in. We don't really have anything to announce about that today, but we definitely have a lot of the features in here to support other people making those kinds of experiences, like the eye tracking and the hand tracking. I think that's
yeah, but
it's something you're continually thinking about.
Yeah. I mean, if you hark back to like when I was growing up, and you'd have LAN parties, and the ability to just sit and hang out with friends and share gaming experiences, that's something we all love, and that's a type of experience we're very much thinking about.
People do it on Steam all the time, right?
Absolutely.
Of course, you can communicate with the microphones and have a conversation.
And this is launching in the spring?
Early next year.
Early next
early
year.
2026.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
What are the next hurdles to get this ready? I see packaging's already done.
Yeah,
Exactly.
basically done.
The developer kit program is something we're introducing in mid-November.
That packaging, by the way, sorry, I can't pause and have the screen be there. For some reason, this world does not allow that, but the packaging is very similar to how they pack the Quest 3. That's another thing that makes me think it's not going to be that expensive. Please don't be over $1,000.
And so we're going to get them in the hands of a bunch of devs. Most software streaming we expect to just work, but there might be minor tuning like for resolution or quality settings. The same way when we launched Steam Deck, partners made the types of tweaks like on Steam Deck we'll run with the following settings because that looks perfect. We talked about the resolution and frame rate trade-off. Nailing those types of things is something we're excited to involve partners with.
Yeah, so the developer kit program is going to be crucial, and then kicking off the verified testing and growing that and learning more about what we need to change from a software perspective. That's kind of our next hurdles.
I guess one last question is, it's one SKU, right? One storage capacity.
Oh, actually, there's going to be 2 SKUs.
Okay.
So yeah, similar to Steam Machine, there was 2 SKUs. There's going to be a 256 gigabyte model.
Okay.
And a 1 terabyte model.
1 terabyte.
But everything else will be the same.
Yep, they'll all have 16 gigs of RAM, for example.
Got it. And accessories that you guys are announcing as a comfort.
Kit.
Yep, the ergonomic kit,
Okay.
which includes the top strap for the headset, as well as the wrist straps, or not wrist straps, I'm sorry. The
hand straps.
Hand straps for the controllers. Very much in the spirit of the Index.
And for the micro SD card, it's not just for SteamOS games, but any type of media content also works on that? Or you think it works as extra storage?
Media content, it's certainly your computer, so you as a computer owner can do anything you want with that data storage. We tend to think about this as a gaming device first and foremost. So while we don't restrict or limit any media options, that is very much not our focus out of the gate. We'll see what people do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that a micro SD card formatted for SteamOS to read it, if you go to desktop mode, you'd be able to open files in there and look at it from the file browser. So.
Yeah. Does a headset render in a standard, resolution, and is that configurable?
Well, the headset is locked to 2160 by 2160
Steam OS, I guess. Steam VR.
Yeah, Steam VR and Steam OS, it's all dynamic.
All dynamic. Okay.
Yeah, so even when you launch desktop mode, it's less of a mode and more you hit a button and you have a desktop window, and it could be a big one or a smaller one.
Right. Okay. Well, I can't wait to go test it. Thank you so much for the time here.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So one more opportunity to check about the display and optics of the Steam frame. So I have Josh and Jeremy again.
Yep.
Josh, here, you're the guy. You're the optics guy here. Tell me about these pancake lenses and how they're arranged here relative to the display that you chose.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about the design that we've worked on here. First off, we're using the pancake optics. These are cat-a-day optic systems. The nice thing about a cat-a-day optic system is it lets you use a refractive element and a reflective element. And those two parts of an optical system, they kind of complement each other to allow you to correct
public
certain
speaking.
So the pancake optic in general is just a really good fit for VR, we think. Specifically, we've worked hard to make the quality of the surface really good, because that kind of drives the sharpness and the image resolution that you'll see. So we put a bunch of work into making sure that what we call surface figure, or the correctness of the lens, is as good as we can mold. And then we've done some stuff with, we also have a glass element in there that we use to make the surface extremely flat. But we made that glass element as thin and as small as possible, so the weight isn't you're not feeling a lot of weight from the glass element.
Yeah.
But all of those together allowed us to really just try to control the image quality and get the sharpness. We did a lot with balancing the FOV and the angular resolution across the display, so that when you're looking at things like 2D content or menus, it's still a readable experience.
I'm always curious about these trade-offs, because it sounds like even when you're looking at the category of pancake optics, it already sounds like you have a whole buffet of options of materials and thicknesses and coatings and sizing, and you just listed out some of those priorities. Give me a little more insight about how tough it is to make a pancake optic that works this well or to your specifications.
Yeah, I think what's unique about what we've done, which being at other places, I haven't had the opportunity to do this as much, but we bounce all of these ideas off of each other and engineers working on this. So I'll work on a design that I'm really excited about and think it does the thing that I want it to do. But really, it comes down to the experience. And so if I hand this to somebody like Jeremy or anyone else on the team, and they're like, "Oh, that was cool, the thing that you worked on, but I care about this other, I care about sharpness, or I see a little flare somewhere that I don't want to see," and that gets incorporated in the design really early because we're so quick to show it around, and that design has caused us to do so many variations. I mean, we went through the whole alphabet of like design A, design B. It's just a ton of designs, and we quickly, by kind of iterating quickly and learning, we kind of really focus on the experience, and that has really changed the way you do a design. Because a lot of times in optical design and camera design, it's a really known thing. You go after MTF sharpness. You go after certain qualities, and it's a thing on a piece of paper. But this is interfacing with human eyes and a human experience, and that has really been the driving performance metric for these optics.
I remember early on in our prototyping for what would become the Steam frame, Josh showed us a headset where we knew we wanted to attack non-VR content pretty early. So you showed us a headset that had greatly increased pixel density at the cost of FOV. And we were thinking, you know what, we know we want to also function as VR, but let's put VR aside where we know the FOV is amazing. And let's just really increase the pixel density by having a smaller FOV. And we put that on, and we play tested it amongst a bunch of people in the building and on our old team. And what was amazing is we started hearing words like, "I feel claustrophobic." And even though the rectangle of this huge theater was fully enclosed within the VR, within the field of view, like it wasn't that the picture was going beyond the field of view, but just not having stuff at the periphery just gave you this claustrophobic feel. And so I remember we went back to you and we said, well, it turns out that FOV is really important, even in non-VR gaming, which was like a great surprise to us. And it's not something you can just learn on a piece of paper. Like, we had to build it, we had to try it. And that's where we landed at this FOV, for example.
And even something like having light leak, having just a little bit of light coming in or air coming in, right?
Yeah.
Feel less claustrophobic. It all goes into the type of experiences. I remember when I was first here for the index reveal, and one of the novel things that you guys did was cant the displays. Jeremy, can you talk about how the displays are aligned here to your face and to the optics, and what you're doing to...
Yeah, so I guess to start with, I would say these are 1-to-1 aspect ratio panels. We mentioned that they're 2160 by 2160 per eye, but the picture area, the active area that actually emits light, is not a perfect square. So if you notice on the bottom, this is where the panel would be. It's actually truncated, it's cut off. And so even starting with the shape of the panel, that bottom, sort of the edges being cut off, and I could get you a better graphic, allows your nose to fit in there comfortably. So it's a very custom panel shape that allows your nose to fit in there. And then as far as canting refers to this angle, right? To allow you to perhaps have additional field of view in the horizontal direction, because you don't need 100% binocular overlap. And you can go too far on that, right? Like, for example, you could have one eye pointing this way, one eye that way, and then you sort of see across your nose, and it feels really weird. So there is canting on this, very similar to index, but it's a very modest amount. So if people do any of those applications that allow you to measure FOV, you'll see that we have nearly full binocular overlap. But just that little bit extra allows you to get a better sense on the periphery.
There's a couple elements to that. Is when we do the canting, a lot of what drives that, and we did some user testing with this, is your face isn't perfectly flat either. And so by putting just a little bit, we're finding for a lot of cases, we weren't actually trading off field of view by doing that. We were actually allowing the lenses to get closer to your eyes, and that allowed us to actually get some of the field of view that people who might struggle with binocular overlap were able to get a little bit back. But again, it really comes down to the facial shape and how this is adapting to your eye. That field of view number and the canting, we kind of target the average and kind of as big of a majority of people we can cover, but it does vary.
You say about 110-degree average field of view, again, depending on eye relief and how close to your face and your face shape.
Closer is better.
Yes, of course. Yeah, some people, eyelashes touching the lenses. What about binocular overlap? How much overlap are you targeting on average?
So that number is really hard for us to report out, and it's because of the fact that we have this, it's not a circular aperture. And so when we want to talk about what's the horizontal field of view, for example, it's really easy because we can take the max number here and the max number here, and it's circular. So there are places where there's, like Jeremy's saying, where there's like 100%, depending on what your IPD is and where you fit. And then there's places where with the D-cut, like even for a lot of people, they don't have 100% binocular overlap because their nose gets in the way, and so we have to account for that. So it's a hard thing to answer. There are some people also with glasses that obstruct the binocular overlap. You can have cases where you don't have a lot of binocular overlap, or not as much as we would like. It's a function of how it fits on your face. And then there's some people who get great. I mean, for me, I think I'm getting something like 90% binocular overlap for when I wear it, and it feels great. I can see the whole screen.
I will say that we really love to be quantitative as much as possible. Like, I would much rather say the spec, like, it's exactly this at this angle and exactly that. It's just that FOV is one of the hardest areas to accurately measure in a way that is predictive to someone's personal experience. Like, we go to enormous efforts to calibrate these lenses, right? Like, we put cameras very close. We know per pixel the exact location as a function of angle that a human would see under ideal conditions. But it's very hard to translate those numbers into the experience someone has had, because they might think they're seeing 110 degrees or 120 degrees FOV, but they might actually be getting 90 something. And that's where some of those applications that let you actually look around, those are sort of the best way to actually test it, to know what you're getting. There's even, we don't have to go that deep, but like the FOV you get looking on center is different from the FOV when you look over.
Right.
Like, it's very common
I
for you to,
literally,
That's why your test, you look forward and then you kind of.
Holy shit, I literally was testing that and thinking about that. What the fuck? Because I'm sitting here and I'm trying to see that cube at the right side of the screen, and I can't see it if I turn my eyes and look, if I'm looking straight. But if I look straight, I can see it. I guess that's just human anatomy. That's not that amazing. Oh shit, oops. The FOV is just slightly different if you're looking straight than if you're actually trying to look at what you're seeing. That is...
kind of wait for you.
Yeah, you can look forward, but attend in your brain to things off in the periphery, which is a different number than if you look over.
And
So
we
have
report
straight
all those
vision,
things, and when we do this design and when we do measurements across different faces and stuff, those are numbers we collect, and they are incorporated in the design. It's just it's so many numbers that it's really hard to just say a number.
Also, for people who wear corrective lensing, what are the thoughts, and how is potentially going to support corrective lensing?
Well, we did a bunch of work on Index. We had a bunch of corrective lenses that just weren't dialed into the quality that we wanted. So people would not put them in right or whatever, and then that experience just wasn't great for them. So we've been working on corrective inserts for Steam Frame, because we want people to be able to put in inserts and still have a good experience. And we found that it just turns out we can encourage, or we can create an experience that's more dialed in for people if we work on that with folks. So we've done a bunch of work to dial that in and make that as rich of an experience as we can, and we're just in the process of trying to make it available for people.
Do you have thoughts on variable diopters and the pros and cons of adjustable diopter in lens?
Yeah, we looked at that. There's a lot of trade-offs in the mechanical design and the optical design, and it complicated the system to a degree that we just felt like we couldn't make a good experience for everybody, because even if you do have corrective diopter adjust, you still have people with astigmatism, and so it just doesn't solve everything. So we kind of feel like we've been able to create inserts that work well for people, and we're kind of leaning into that right now.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for the time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Wow.
Okay, so there's so much to process and digest about this news, about the Steam Frame. It's been about 2 weeks since we were up there to learn about it, and I was able to try it, but I've had some time to think about it, because it's given me a lot to think about. And to be clear, I spent about 20 minutes or so total in the headset trying a variety of different experiences, but mostly the three that we talked about in the interview: flat screen, local gaming, local VR play, and also streaming VR from a desktop in playing Half-Life Alyx. And my initial impressions is that one, this is a really light headset. If they were going for comfort, I mean, this is way lighter than
Hello,
any
Blumpy.
even standalone headset I've tried so far. I
Blumpy?
mean, the idea of minimizing the weight of that compute module, and they use the words every gram counts. Sounds familiar, right? Really felt like it mattered here. 180 to 190 grams for that front compute module. The battery in the back, I was skeptical that because it's using soft straps, that would actually help and assist as a counterbalance. But maybe because of how the headset was not sticking out from my head and how it wrapped around my face, it actually worked out ergonomically. Just it didn't feel very heavy, the whole thing. It is soft straps. I mean, it kind of is like this idealized version of what we thought VR headsets would be like. Like if you've seen Ready Player One, we saw like this the VR goggles look like ski goggles, and these kind of remind me of ski goggles. But in using it, the optics and the displays remind me a lot of the Quest 3 and the Quest Pro. The pancake optics here have a really generous sweet spot. The eye box is really nice. I mean, even though the headset's pretty tight to my face, did try moving it around, and the clarity was really edge to edge. The wider field of view than I would normally expect from something like the Quest 3 was noticeable as well. Although so much of this headset reminded me, image quality-wise, of the Quest 3, from the pancake optics, from the use of high-resolution, LCD panels. And let's talk about the use of LCD panels here, because the biggest surprise going into this, and with all my hopes and the rumors and suspicions, was that they're choosing LCD panels over going with a high-resolution micro OLED. And I've been racking my brains over the past 2 weeks think about what about this makes sense, as what they're calling a premium standalone VR headset. The resolution of these panels are the same resolution as we saw in the HP Reverb, although that one had a much lower field of view. So 2160 by 2160 per eye, cropped a little bit on the corners here. If you do the math on the number of pixels that's being pushed, it's actually really comparable to what the Quest 3 panels are. Those are a little off, like 2000 by 2200 or so. But
that's why I think it's going to be a little bit more expensive than the Quest 3, but not
and so a lot of the characteristics of those pixels.
So that's why I'm saying like $799,
like
$899.
Square pixels, more like diamond-shaped pixels, at least to the horizontal plane of your eye. I felt like that was here too. Of course, Quest 3 is running a much weaker processor, and by default, the Quest 3's rendering resolution is much lower than the native resolution of the panels. And here, the assumption was that what they were showing me with the Steam VR interface and what they were streaming at was at least hitting the native resolution, if not higher than. Actually, I know for higher than because I was able to go into Steam VR settings. It was like 3,000, at least 3,000 pixels wide, doing a little bit of super sampling than the native resolution of the LCD panels here. But it reminded me a lot of that Quest 3 experience, the clarity of the edge clarity of those pancake lenses. And in thinking about why choose LCD with these pancake lenses versus a micro OLED approach like we saw in
I just want to hear his price prediction.
The Play for Dreams MR and Galaxy XR, all that stuff in the controllers and the router stick, how they chose the optics and the panel for this. And for OLED panels with pancake lenses, it's hard to get a really wide field of view. I don't see it in the Vision Pro, for example, today. I want more field of view from that. And then finally, there's that balance between display optics, of course, and also the processor and what chip
are the
they've
Quest
chosen
3's
and for what purpose they've chosen to use
screens
for that chip. And a surprise here was that they're not going with Qualcomm's XR2 Plus Gen 2.
The Quest 3 screen
confusing.
type is
That's their
LCD,
Snapdragon
and I
XR chip
mean,
variant
fine.
that's in the Galaxy XR. It's a generation, it's an overclock version of what you'd find
You
in
skipped
the
it.
Quest 3
Seller,
and
you
Quest
find the video.
3S. But that chip, that of up to 1.3 or 4K. So clearly a priority for them to have games at least run competently on headset, VR games included, adapted via FX and also Proton. But as I asked the team there, and they told me it's still not as powerful as the Steam Deck because this is using an AMD APU, essentially a laptop graphics processor, and the Steam Frame is using a high-end cell phone, high-end smartphone processor. There's sheer fundamental different types of architectures and thermals that they've been designed for. The Steam Frame didn't get hot as I was using it. I definitely felt the vent though, the exhaust of that. And like I said, I only was able to spend a couple minutes in each of the different types of experiences. I will say that as someone who's very familiar with testing VR headsets and scrutinizing the details, using the Wi-Fi router stick to stream Half-Life Alyx this Steam Frame, I didn't notice in my time with it any compression artifacts or any banding. Now it's an LCD, so the black levels weren't as black as an OLED panel, and the brightness was something that I felt like could have been improved, but it looked really crisp. Like if someone told me that was a tethered connection in the little time I had, I would have believed them. But at the same time, it didn't look as sharp or as high resolution as a Big Screen Beyond or the Somnium VR1 or another, a micro OLED or high resolution desktop VR headset that I've been using. And just putting, the Russell gloves and Alyx up to my face and holding the other objects, like there were details there that I could not see in the Steam Frame that I know in the past I was able to see in those in the other high-end VR headsets. So it really feels like they've designed the Steam Deck of VR headsets, something that they hope and they say can run games competently locally, but also works really great streaming. And streaming here, I think, is the big surprise. That dedicated Wi-Fi 6E USB router that has that strong connection with their foveated encoding, the foveated streaming. Remember, this is the PC side running the games at full blast, full resolution, with super sampling, whatever you want, whatever your graphics card can handle. And then Steam Link, Steam VR, doing the sampling of your eye tracking and then only sending and concentration of those pixels to where you're looking. And it's that's something that I can show you. I wasn't able to see or give you that visualization and get that captured, but I was able to toggle that when I was there, and they were able to show me this grayscale eye tracking box with a gradient that fell off from the square from where I was looking at, and the eye tracking looked responsive, and I could definitely tell that there's a lot more detail in the center, even though once I toggled the full graphics on, I couldn't tell the difference between, I couldn't actually notice the effects of foveated streaming.
What the fuck?
The Wi-Fi stick will only work with the Steam Frame, so I'm a little disappointed that's not a product that they're just making and certifying for other VR headsets or VR devices. That would be really neat to have. But one great thing to note is that Steam Link 2.0 beta that's currently out now works with devices that have eye tracking. So the Quest Pro, the Play for Dreams MR, which have eye tracking, can actually take advantage of foveated encoding. It's not going to be a feature locked to the Steam Frame. There's going to be so much more to test. We're so curious about battery life, about performance for these games locally, about games that potentially could be sideloaded because it's a PC, right? Like I said, this is shipping in spring 2026. We don't have a price. We don't have pre-order plans, but this will be launching in the same time frame as both the Steam Machine and also the new Steam Controller 2. And I'll have a separate video with my thoughts and conversation with Valve about those devices.
Okay. No price. That's fine. But we got your predictions. We got your predictions for when they do announce the price. I hope one of us nails it. That would be so funny if one of us guesses the price exactly. I think it's going to be $7.99 or $8.99. I'm going to say $8.99. I think it's going to be $7.99 or $8.99. That's $8.99 is what I'm locking in. I don't think it's going to be fully $1,000 like silver. I don't think it's gonna be fully $1,000 like you think silver. There's no way. There's no way. It's so comparable to the Quest 3. The guy even said it. It just has, extra cameras for the eyes and like better tech, but the lenses are pretty much the same. The screens are pretty much the same. The FOV is pretty much the same. I mean, come on. It can't be that expensive. Please, don't be $1,000. I just looked it up. Mostly its price costs are cutting with the LCD panels instead of the OLED. Another issue was field of view because it's harder to get a broader field of view with OLED panels. Yeah, okay. That's the answer that you were looking for that. Well, I'ma go ahead and go. Pretty much time to end stream anyway, and I'm satisfied with that information. I'm gonna lock in your guys' guest prices. I'll clip that moment where we wrote down all the price guesses, and come time of price release, we'll compare and see who nailed it. All right. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and raid and run because I'm really hungry. Thanks for streaming this. Yeah, I was very interested, and I didn't have time at all today to really research and watch videos on it, so might as well do it on stream because it's relevant. But yeah, thank you, Furry Paw Chops, for the follow. Bye. Stick around for the raid and the outro. Bye. Bye.
Not.